What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have, for the next couple of days, a plethora of severe weather that is expected through much of the Midwest, as well as parts of Oklahoma, Texas, and parts of the Deep South. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into all of this right here and right now. So let's go ahead and get started with what the SPC is putting out. Let's go ahead and give you a better view of what we're looking at right here with this. So here's what we have for the day one outlook. We have an enhanced risk in effect for parts of Kansas, Missouri, with Kansas City being right in the middle smack of that. We have a slight risk in effect from Kansas all the way to St. Louis, actually. So you're going to have to pay attention to that, as well as Hannibal, Missouri, and Jefferson City. Marginal risk from Peoria all the way down to Dallas, and then all the way to near Colby, Kansas. So we're going to have to pay attention to that as time continues to go on. And we're going to go ahead and read a little bit of the summary and kind of a little bit of the synopsis as well, just to kind of give you an understanding of what we're potentially looking at. There is an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms across northeast Kansas and northwest Missouri. The summary: large to very large hail, severe thunderstorm wind gusts, and a few tornadoes are, quote, expected this afternoon into the evening across parts of the Central Plains and lower Missouri Valley. Isolated severe storms may also produce this afternoon across parts of the Southern Plains. Here's what we have for the Central Plains and lower Missouri Valley over here. The trough and upper jet region will approach the lower Missouri Valley this evening, with an evolving triple point related to this stuff. Okay, this is just a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo right here. Low-level moisture continues to steadily increase. 50s Fahrenheit surface dew points. I actually want to go ahead and check that real quickly just to kind of see what we're looking at. We're going to pull up the HERS forecasted dew point temperatures right here. Here's what we're looking at right here. This is for this was initiated at 12Z right here. Yeah, we're looking at upper 50s, maybe even some lower 60s dew points across parts of the region over here. So we're going to have to pay attention to that for sure. And it's kind of just right over the enhanced risk area right there. There's not going to be much severe weather to the west of this region, mainly because it's too dry for any convection to initiate at this current point. If we go ahead and show you the temperature, we're looking at 73 degrees to like 57 dew point, which that's a relatively decent amount of moisture right there. If we go ahead and show you the relative humidity with this, relative humidity continues to increase as the evening goes along as well, which I find pretty interesting to say at the very least. Then again, that's pretty much every single time we have this, so we'll have to pay attention to this. Again, the modeling may not be accurately reflecting what's going on the ground, so please do keep that in mind going forward right there. But still, look at some relatively moist areas going into that. So that's what we have going on. That's going to be the limiting factor, but that's going to be pretty much it's going to pretty much be going on with that. And these 50 surface dew points are going to be a limiting factor for more consequential tornado risk, while still supporting a very large hail risk. So we're going to have to pay attention to this. Right here, the thunderstorms are expected to start between 5 and 6 o'clock. Probably a bit earlier than some of the short-term guidance depictions. This development will likely include the surface low triple point across parts of the west central and northern Kansas. So we'll have to pay attention to that right here. Oh, this is the big stuff right here. Here's the juicy stuff. Supercells with all severe hazards are possible, including at least a few tornadoes. Significant, which is 2+ inch hail, is also involved. It still appears to be the greatest concentration of severe risk that will be across the northeast Kansas and northwestern Missouri within the enhanced risk, but eastward increased risk adjustments have been otherwise made across eastern Missouri. While large hail will be the most common severe threat regionally, the tornado potential will be maximized with discrete or semi-discrete storms late in the afternoon into the early evening near the surface low triple point vicinity. What triple point means is essentially what you're looking for in that is you're looking for the warm front, the cold front, and the occluded front in all the same area, which if I can kind of illustrate, I can't really illustrate this, but essentially what warm front and cold fronts are. They're measured in blue and red and blue respectively, but occluded fronts are in purple, and that's essentially an indication that there might be a weakening of a low pressure system. That's pretty much all you guys need to know. But the triple point is an area that's pretty interesting, and it's kind of prudent when it comes to severe weather initiation. So we'll have to pay attention to that Damaging wind potential could increase for a time this evening, especially if storms cluster into across northern Missouri, so potential squall line influence might be going on with that as well. So that's what we have going on with the first day. Here's what we have going on for tomorrow, and this is the main events that we are potentially looking at. We have an enhanced risk for Springfield, Missouri, all the way through much of Arkansas, including Fayetteville, and into Oklahoma and Texas over here. And then the slight risk goes from Indiana all the way to the DFW area, as well as Waco. Most of Illinois is in that area right there. And we have a slight risk, well, not a slight risk, a marginal risk from Michigan all the way down to Texas into Tennessee as well. And you have the rest as generic thunderstorms. Here's the main risks for you guys right here. That we have the tornado risk at 5%, which means we have a 5% risk of a tornado happening within 25 miles of a point. Here's the wind risk. We have a 30% risk. Now, this is actually new from this afternoon right here. A 30% risk of damaging wind gusts of 50 knots or 60 miles per hour or greater within 25 miles of a point. And the hail, though, is definitely going to be the main risk with this. We have a 30 and 15% hatched risk pretty much from Illinois down to the DFW area. So here's what that means. We have a 15 or 30% risk of 2-inch or greater diameter hail happening within 25 miles of a point. So that's pretty much what we're looking at right here. This is going to be the main event of this week right there as severe weather season continues to ramp up and as we continue to move through the spring situation right here. So here's what we have. This is the summary. Scattered severe thunderstorms are likely from eastern Oklahoma into the Ozarks Thursday night into Thursday afternoon to Thursday night. Large to very large hail, a few tornadoes, and damaging gusts are possible in the stronger thunderstorms. That's the synopsis right here. I'm going to go ahead and get to the juicy stuff right here. Shower and thunderstorms will likely be ongoing near the surface on early Thursday morning. General expectation is for most of this activity to be north of the warm front with an attendant threat for isolated hail. That's what we're looking at in the morning. We'll show you the models in just a second. As we continue to look at this, the presence of early morning storms could act to shift the forecast position of the effective frontal zone farther south. Additionally, if strong outflow is realized, the resulting boundary could act as a focus for afternoon development across Missouri into central Illinois. Considerable uncertainty remains regarding the potential placement of the boundary and magnitude of destabilization. So that's kind of interesting to take a look at right there, just kind of reading through a few things to kind of consider right here, especially for the northern part of the risk right there. It has that does continue to shift further south before. We're looking at a slight risk for Iowa, parts of Illinois, that area with the hatched stuff going on. And now it's more concentrated across central and southern Illinois, into Missouri, into Texas, into the parts of the deep south as well. So that's what we have going on with the risk situation going on over here. Now we're going to go ahead and, I apologize for not showing this earlier, but now we're going to go ahead and kind of show you the risks that we're looking at for both days. We're going to first take a look at the Cape, as well as pluck a few soundings from both days. Here's the Cape that we're looking at going into this right here. There is some Cape. There's about 2,000 joules per kilogram of Cape, especially across parts of Kansas City right here. This is for 6 p.m. Tomorrow. No, not 6 p.m. tomorrow. This is 6 p.m. today right here with about 2,300 joules per kilogram of Cape. Let's go ahead and pull up a sounding of this real quickly right here. I want to go ahead and pluck a sounding near Kansas City right here to kind of see what the risk is and kind of what the main situation that we have going on here. Okay, here we go. We have a pretty decent lapse rate with this. We have surface Cape of almost 3,000 joules per kilogram. We have shear from surface to 1 kilometer at 23 knots. That's generally decent for tornado development right there, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we see something go on from there. But at the same time, we have a lot of more information to kind of comb through. Surface to 6 kilometers, 42 knots, and there is plenty of directional shear with this as well, which is also what you're looking for if you want supercell and tornado initiation with this. So that's what we have going on, at least around Kansas City for today. There is also areas of over 3,000 joules per kilogram across parts of Missouri over here. Let's go ahead and quickly pluck a sounding of that, just to kind of give a better grasp of what we're looking at and see what the main threat is. Once again, we're looking at a similar setup. The lapse rate's down a little bit. The surface Cape is over 3,500 joules per kilogram, almost 3,600. Surface to 1 kilometer is around 21 knots. Surface to 6 is around 43, and there's plenty of directional shear to kind of back that up. So kind of a similar setup going on. I think that's why they expanded the enhanced risk over there, because new model runs are continuing to show up and become more prevalent by the day. So that's what we have going on. pretty much for what's going on in parts of Kansas City for today. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the main event, which is tomorrow, and kind of see what those Cape values are looking like. And based off of some of the HERS projections, this is for, we're going to start around 4 p.m. and kind of see what we're looking at least with Cape values, and then we're going to use the supercell composite significant torr parameter. And Cape values across the region generally around 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram, although in the more extreme areas, we're looking around 3,000 to 3,500 joules per kilogram. And even into St. Louis, in the St. Louis area, we're looking around 35, 36, 37, 38, maybe in 4,000 joules per kilogram west of the city over there. That's going on. So we'll have to pay attention to that. Here's the supercell composite going on. With it, the main supercell composite, at least for this hour, is across parts of Missouri and Illinois, although that is going to somewhat increase as we get into the evening across parts of Arkansas, parts of Oklahoma, Texas, those areas right there. So we'll have to pay attention to that as we continue to look at more information. Here's the significant tornado parameter. Significant tornado parameter is pretty interesting to say the very least. We're not looking at very much more of a tornado threat. We're looking more of a hail and wind threat, and this kind of backs it up. We are seeing some shear with some of this as well, so we're going to have to pay attention to that as time continues to go on. Now we're going to go ahead and kind of show you some soundings of what we're looking at potentially tomorrow. Here is the RAP model that is pulled up right here. I want to take a sounding around the St. Louis area and take a sounding around the Dallas-Fort Worth area to kind of compare and contrast what's going on, because interestingly, the risk appears to be greater across parts of Missouri and Illinois and parts of Iowa and those areas. So we'll have to take a look at the sounding. Okay, there is definitely some more speed shear going on around that region. There is Cape around 3,000 joules per kilogram. Lapse rate's pretty impressive to say the very least. SRH values they're pretty good for that kind of stuff. Surface to 1 kilometer is 24 knots. That's definitely prevalent for some tornado development. Surface to 6 kilometer is 63 knots, and you see that directional shear that's going on a little bit over there. So that's definitely something to pay attention to as we look into this. Now we're going to go ahead and go around the DFW area to kind of compare and contrast where the big threat is. And then we're going to go ahead and go to Arkansas to kind of neatly wrap this up into a nice little bow. Okay, this is interesting. The lapse rate is 9.3 degrees Celsius per kilometer. That's almost absolutely unstable right there. So we're going to have to pay attention to that right there. We have plenty of directional shear. Speed shear isn't that great, to say the very least. I'd say the main risk would be more like supercell hail threat than tornado threat for the DFW area. Now we're going to go ahead and go to around the Arkansas area, around not Little Rock, but Fayetteville, that area, so we'll pay attention to that. Here's the sounding that is going to be pulled up right there. Okay, not as impressive of a lapse rate with this, but still the shear is pretty decent. There's plenty of Cape, 3,400 joules per kilogram of Cape going into this. So yeah, the instability is definitely there for a very large severe weather threat. My personal opinion is for both systems, I'm agreeing with the SPC. It's more going to be a hail threat than a tornado threat, but I still would not rule out tornadoes happening, especially if we see later model runs tonight that are going to be indicative of that. So be sure to watch out for my Twitter, as I will be posting stuff as information continues to come out. We're closing the video out right here. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us make more videos like these. The goal of this channel, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.